Dave Cokin turned 70 on January 13th, and we want to celebrate Dave's 70th all week long by offering everyone 7 days of his all-access service for just $70 using coupon code COKIN70 when checking out on a 7-day all-access pass. That's every play in every sport for 7 days, including any 5% releases for just $70, coming out to only $10 a day. Dave is a legend in this business, with many calling him the GOAT. Despite betting and winning in sports since the Black Sox scandal, he could be enjoying one of the best runs of his career since joining WagerTalk. Look at his lifetime numbers since joining the WagerTalk family exclusively. Number 1 in total profit, number 1 in college football, number 1 in golf, number 2 in NHL, and number 4 in MLB. Just like fine wine, Dave Cokin is getting better with age. Happy birthday, Dave, and take advantage of code COKIN70 and get 7 days for only $70.
Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report Playoff Edition. I'm excited for this one. We got Wild Card Weekend. Teddy, arguably the best sports betting weekend of the year. Teddy covers at Teddy_covers on Twitter. Welcome in, buddy. How you feeling?
Great to be here, Drew. Coming off a good weekend in the NFL, a perfect weekend in the NFL for the clients, which is nice to see. This was not my best NFL season by any stretch of the imagination, but we closed it out with back-to-back strong weeks, so I feel good heading into the postseason. I'll do a little house cleaning in terms of the season win report. We split out this year, 3 wins, 3 losses. All 3 losses were a little bit frustrating. I had the Cowboys under. If you bet them at, was it FanDuel or DraftKings, who paid them off after week 1, that would have been good. San Fran looked pretty good to the under when they were 3-4 midway through the season with the third-string quarterback. That didn't get there. And Atlanta was wrong from the get-go and ended up with 7 wins. The under 5, no good. But we cashed with the Lions over, the Giants over, and I'm blanking on it. We had another under that came through as well. So 3 wins, 3 losses for the season win report. Now 97-47 all time.
Nice, Teddy. And guys, we're going over the opening lines here for the playoffs. We got 2 games on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday. Going right down the list in rotation order here. We're going off of the WagerTalk live odds screen. It's the best free live odds in the business. And we're going to start off here, Teddy. Saturday, January 14th, wild card round 141, 142, Seattle and San Francisco. We get 43 being the total. We're seeing the 49ers here -10. So this is the first game up, 4:35 Eastern, 1:35 Pacific. That's local time here. And we get an NFC West battle. Seahawks, 49ers for the third time here. Double-digit spread, -10, 43 being the total. What are we thinking in San Francisco?
So when it comes to the postseason, we change what we do on this show slightly because there's no look-ahead lines to talk about. That being said, we do have, and I've compiled Sagarin strength of schedule numbers for all of these teams. And if you're looking for the single easiest method for wild card weekend, it's real simple. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Drew may have them somewhere, but this has been profitable for 20-something years. Just bet on the team that played the tougher schedule. When there's a 10 differential of 10 places or more, it's even better. So I'm going to go through strength of schedule for every team. I'm going to give you my powering number. We'll give you the opener. We'll talk about where the line is moved and maybe if there's any things we need to do right away. So Seattle, San Francisco. And there's something in terms of emergency betting alert I'm going to talk about for this game in just a minute. No look-ahead line. My powering number came San Fran -10.5. The markets opened 9.5/10.5 last night, and they've settled at 10 this morning. Total was 43.5 last night, has been bet down to 43. And Dan, let's get an emergency betting alert right away for this one. I think we're going to have 2 emergency betting alerts on today's show. And again, the emergency betting alerts are real simple. This is a line that we expect to move. If you like that side or total, you bet it now. If you don't do anything. But if you're going to bet the under in this game, do it sooner rather than later. We're looking at 43s right now. Some of the leading indicator books are juiced to the under on 43 already. It opened 43.5. And my sense is one team playing with a third-string quarterback, one team who's been putting up points in bunches of late, but is the number one defensive team in the NFL. And a series history, what do we see? 27-7 in week 2, 21-13 in week 15. San Fran winning and covering both meetings, both games, finishing with exactly 34 points. This total, I'm anticipating under money. We've seen some already. If you like the under, bet it sooner rather than later. All that being said, Brock Purdy has thrown multiple touchdowns in 6 straight games. All right. And San Fran continues to dominate the turnover battle that he forced 4. The offense didn't have any in the blowout win over Arizona yesterday. Number 1 in the NFL in positive turnover margin, despite the fact they're starting a third-string quarterback. Purdy's quote, "I feel great. I feel like everyone else is feeling great. When you're on a roll, you're on a win streak, you feel like the groove and how we're playing together, it feels really good when we're on it. I think a lot of us are real with ourselves too and feel like we still haven't played to our full potential yet." Kyle Shanahan, quote, "I feel real good about our team. We won the division there about a month ago. I feel better about them now because we've gotten better since that point. We'll be ready to go." Concerns for San Fran? Well, they have been vulnerable to the deep ball of late. They've given up 6 passes of 50 yards or more this season. That's tied for the most in the NFL, and frankly, more than they allowed in the last 2 years combined. So that is something of a concern here, and certainly a concern for underbettors. How about Seattle making it, 10 playoff appearances in 13 seasons under Pete Carroll. And GM John Schneider, let's not leave him out of the equation. And, of course, this team overachieved all year. Geno Smith, single-season franchise records for pass attempts, pass completions, total yards, completion percentage. He basically broke all Russell Wilson's records for one fraction of the price. But all that being said, Geno Smith has not fared well against good defenses. He threw a pair of interceptions yesterday. He could have had 3 in that ballgame against L.A. Pete Carroll, we're going to be tough to play against right now. Our guys are going to be good to go. Talking about San Fran, they're pretty good. They've won 10 or 11 in a row or something like that. They're going to be just as high as flying as you can go. You're going to do something here special at the end. You've got to be really good teams. Let's start off with these guys and go get this thing going. And that's exactly the kind of a quote you'd expect from Carroll in this ballgame. I haven't seen Seattle show the ability to hang with San Fran, and I'm a believer in the 49ers defense, and I'm not a believer in Geno Smith against good defenses. I don't think this line's going up, but this is one of those games. The early one on Saturday is the one they don't expect the ratings for. If I'm playing here, I'm probably
like it, Teddy. Good start here, guys. And we do have the doubleheader on Saturday, 4:35 for that one. Seattle. Yeah, go ahead, Teddy.
Yeah, just real quick. I said I was going to give the strength of schedule, and I didn't. And that was important for this matchup because when it comes to strength of schedule for San Francisco, dead last in the NFL. The single easiest schedule in the league this year. They played the number 32 ranked schedule. Again, these are staggering numbers. Seattle number 24. So it wasn't like there's a gulf between these two squads. But it is worth noting, based on the staggering numbers, San Fran faced the easiest schedule in the NFL this year. And that doesn't tend to bode well for success against the spread in wild card.
Great point there, Teddy. Yeah, strength of schedule, very important. So the late game here on Saturday, heading to the Sunshine State, North Florida here, 143, 144, 8:15 Eastern, 5:15 Pacific kick. We get the LA Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're seeing Pick'em actually -1 at most shops as we're talking right now. That is the Chargers as the road favorite here, Teddy. 47.5. Do want to note, schedule spot-wise, this is the toughest on the slate, in my opinion, Teddy. We get the Chargers. They were at Denver, then heading back home, now going cross-country on a short week. This is Saturday. They just played on Sunday. Did want to point that out before we get over, but we're seeing a -1 point road favorites, 47.5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, division champions, Jacksonville Jaguars. What are we thinking in North Florida on Saturday night, Teddy?
My power number had the Jags as the favorites here. I had Jacksonville -1.5/-2. So maybe I've over-adjusted for the Charger injury situation. But the Chargers are really banged up right now. Again, the market's open -1/-1.5 last night. And it got bet up initially, -1.5. There were even 2.5s out there. And now we're going back to -1 for the Chargers. total been sitting in this 47 and a half range the whole way. You know, the Chargers and Staley made a mistake yesterday. Before kickoff, they were locked into the 5th seed. They got to go to Jacksonville, and Staley played the starters anyway. What happened? Joey Bosa had a sack in the first half, and he limped over to the sidelines. Mike Williams left with a back injury. He couldn't walk after the game. All right? That's a significant potential injury for Mike Williams, who is, you know, as good a receiver as they have. And I know the receiving core was deeper than I thought it was, but Mike Williams is one of these guys, if you're in the postseason, he's someone you would want, especially we consider what's happened with the Jags defense of late. All right? You know, I mean, the defense the last 3 weeks has allowed 3 and 16 points. And won the game, obviously, against Tennessee, even though they didn't cover the point spread. And, of course, they got there despite Trevor Lawrence not playing his best game. Of course, it helped they placed a third-string quarterback. It helped that Josh Dobbs' 2 turnovers were huge in that contest. They couldn't run the football against Tennessee. 14 carries, only 19 yards, only 23 minutes of possession. They were outgained. They were outplayed. But Jacksonville has also rallied to win 4 times in the fourth quarter this year. They trailed the Ravens, they trailed the Raiders, they trailed the Cowboys, and they trailed the Titans and rallied back to win all of those games. A confident team right now in a way they probably weren't just a few weeks ago. These squads played already. Jags, 38-10 at the Chargers, week 3. And it was a pretty dominant, I remember that game. It was a real dominant performance for Jacksonville. So we have the Chargers in revenge. Those are the Jags playing with a little bit of confidence right now. From a must-bet-it-now standpoint, I don't think this line's going to move a whole lot. I do not see Jacksonville moving to the favorite in this game. It looks to me like the public's going to be on the Chargers. And the wise guys, even though we've seen some support for Jacksonville, that's a lot of that's just been arbitrage for this one. So I don't think we see the line move to pick 'em or to Jags as the favorite here. The total hasn't done anything. I'm not convinced it's going to do anything between now and kickoff.
2 games Saturday, 3 on Sunday.
I did it again.
Gotcha.
Sagarin numbers. The Chargers were number 22 in strength of schedule. The Jaguars number 27. The Sagarin system says take L.A., not Jacksonville. They faced the tougher slate. But again, it's not a huge differential. What we're looking for is the double-digit differentials. There's one of those coming for this next game.
Sunday, January 15th, 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific kick. Starting us off here on Sunday, Miami and Buffalo. These 2 teams split the season series. Actually didn't play too many weeks ago in Buffalo. Tough-fought game there, Teddy. 44 being the total, minus 10.5. Miami at Buffalo here. Dolphins at Bills, 44 being the total, minus 10.5. Actually, minus 11 out there in the marketplace right now. What are we thinking, Fins and Bills here to kick us off on Sunday?
So my powering number is based on Tua playing. All right. We don't know that Tua is going to play yet. So if it's Skylar Thompson, I would say add at least 6 points to my number. Because there's I mean, when you talk about a third-string quarterback versus an elite quarterback, I'm not saying that Tua is elite yet, but Tua has played well twice against Buffalo already this season. He stretches the field in a way that Skylar Thompson doesn't, and Miami's offense is built on stretching the field. My powering number is only Buffalo minus 8 for this game with Tua. The market's open 10.5, 11, 43.5 last night. We're still seeing right now 10.5 and 11 and 43.5. There's basically been very little movement on this. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of movement on this until we know exactly what Tua's status is going to be. From a Sagarin standpoint, Miami faced the second toughest schedule in the NFL this year. Buffalo number 17. So the Sagarin system says take Miami plus the points in this one. The 2 meetings this year, 21-19 in week 3. Miami gets the win and cover. If memory serves correctly, Buffalo didn't punt in that ballgame. It was a weird game where they kept on having these long drives. Both teams ended up being 21-19, stayed under the total. But Miami got the win in the second meeting. Every bit as competitive, 32-29 at Buffalo in week 15. Now, my notes for Miami, as I'm watching Miami yesterday, I'm like, this doesn't look like a playoff team with Skylar Thompson behind center. And, of course, Tyreek Hill was on the sideline with the bum ankle for extended stretches of yesterday's game. He came back in the game and got guarded in the end zone on an end zone route by a linebacker. Tyreek Hill's not healthy. Don't be fooled by the defensive showing. The Jets had Flacco, and they were missing 3 starting offensive linemen. They did, have 151 yards rushing at 5.1 yards a carry with a third-string quarterback against a good run defense. That's a positive sign. We got to see what's going on with Terron Armstead, their left tackle. He was inactive yesterday. If he's able to play, that helps Miami. And obviously, Tagovailoa is still in concussion protocol after getting hurt on Christmas against Green Bay. And Mike McDaniel, who was 0-5 on challenges this season, lost a hopeless one yesterday, did not say after the game whether he's going to be available. This line will move based on his status. Of course, the Bills opened up the game with a kick return touchdown yesterday, had another one in the second half. Josh Allen, quote, "I can't remember a play that touched me like I don't think that in my life." It's probably number one. It's just spiritual. You can't draw that one up or write that one up any better. And it was a very emotional day for Buffalo yesterday. Obviously, after what happened on Monday Night Football. And boy, in my notes yesterday, this feels like a Super Bowl team. Josh Allen is ready. They had 3 turnovers yesterday. They struggled to run the football. They struggled to stop the run. But the number one red zone defense in the NFL, depth everywhere. The Bills are the class here, and Miami isn't. And yet the Sagarin system says you got to take the Dolphins plus the points in this one. So not sure how I'm going to be playing it. It does look a little bit lofty. All that being said, this line will move one way or another once Miami's quarterback situation and left tackle situation is understood fully by the betting markets.
And early in the week here, a little weather handicap. We're seeing 29 degrees, 8 to 15 miles per hour in Buffalo. Of course, anytime the Dolphins traveling up to the Northeast, always check that weather report. And granted, guys, we got 6 days before, so it can change there. Teddy, I feel like I need to ask you, do you have a handicap on Tua playing at all, or are you staying away from that?
I have no idea. I mean, when it comes to what the doctors are going to say or what
right.
Has he been able to pass? I have no lean. That's pure information. And last night, McDaniel deflected all questions about Tua, so we really don't know anything. Like I said, my powering number with Buffalo only -8 is a Tua is playing powering number. I would anticipate if he does play, we will see at least some money come from Miami. I don't know if it's going to be a ton, but it'll be some.
Okay. Yeah, I could see, the NFL in their ear, like, hey, right now we don't want any medical issues, things of that nature. But at the same time, this could be the Dolphins' last game of the season. You could have all off season to recover. So there's that argument as well. Part of the handicap, though, for sure. We got middle game here on Sunday. New York Giants, Minnesota Vikings up next here, Teddy. 147, 148. 48 being the total, -3. That's the Vikings as the home favorite. What are we thinking here? Giants, Vikings, middle game on Sunday.
So the Sagarin numbers, Giants number 26th ranked strength of schedule, so an easy slate. Minnesota, the number 30th ranked schedule, so a very easy slate. Again, the Sagarin system says take the Giants here, but it's not one of the bigger differentials. There's 2 bigger differential games. I talked about Miami. Buffalo is another one coming up as well. My powering number for the game came, I call it 2.5/3. That'd be 3 even money or 2.5 -20. And that's exactly where the markets came out. There were more 3s than 2.5s last night. Looking at the WagerTalk live on screen right now, the 2.5 has been bought up. So it's basically a 3 across the board. We have seen a little bit of money on the over. 47.5 is now up to 48, and there are even some 48.5s out there. But I'm not seeing any indications that it's likely to go any higher than this. Of course, this is another rematch. All these games, rematches from at least one regular season meeting that's happened 5 times since the merger in 1970, where all the wild card weekend games were rematches. Happened last year, and it's happening again this year. Week 15. The Vikings hit a 61-yard field goal as time expired to win 27-24. The Giants outgained them 6.7 yards per play to 5.0. They were -2 in turnovers in that contest. That really obviously hurt them in a game they lost by a field goal but covered the point spread. Minnesota's a team that the wise guys hate. All right, flat out hate. Even yesterday when they were bet up to 7.5 against the Bears team that didn't want to win and wasn't playing anyone, the money just poured in before kickoff on Chicago. They're like, Minnesota can't lay 7.5. They can't lay 7. Got bet down. And Minnesota, there's some issues. They've allowed 95 first quarter points. It's most of the NFL. They're playing from behind a lot. The offensive line has a bunch of injuries. That is a big concern. Yesterday's game against Chicago, the first time since week 1 that Minnesota won by more than one score. And again, they finished with a +3 point differential for the entire season. Kirk Cousins, talking about the last 2 weeks for Minnesota, blown out by Green Bay and then blowing out Chicago. Quote, you don't feel good all week, you're disappointed, and it kind of carries with you. And to be able to come back out on the field and compete, play a cleaner game and be sharp, I think that does help. But you don't ever forget what happened last Sunday, what happened week 2 against the Eagles, games where Minnesota really wasn't all that competitive. When it comes to injuries for the Vikings, look, Darius Smith missed yesterday's games. Harrison Smith missed yesterday's game. Garrett Bradbury may or may not play. Chandler Sullivan at cornerback may or may not play. Dalvin Cook got hurt yesterday's ball game. But what I'm most concerned about for Minnesota is the offensive line, the injuries, because that's a problem against the Giants. The Giants pretty strong in the trenches. And, of course, while Minnesota wasn't at max intensity yesterday, the starters were on the field. The Giants didn't even put their starters on the field for much of yesterday's game. It was really their B team. The 6th seed was already secured. They rested guys. Brian Dable, it's the NFL. The guys you have in the team you have confidence in. I thought our guys competed all the way to the end. Fair enough. Minnesota's a team the markets aren't excited about laying points with. That said, my powering numbers say they deserve to be right in this range. That's where they are right now. This line's not moving off of 3. If the total does anything, it'll go up, but obviously it's already gone up. I'm not seeing indicators it's going to go up any further. From a must-bet Monday morning standpoint, this game isn't there. Okay, I guess if you like the over, lock in now. But it's not a rush to the window to get it. The numbers already moved. There are 48s out there. You can get them. 48.5. Looks like the prevailing number right about.
We got the Sunday Nighter and Monday Nighter. Huge shout out to the chat box, everybody joining us live. If you're liking the content, please smash the like button. Also, if you're watching on replay, feel free to reply below. We got Abby Jackson in the house, Slow Jams as well, Kevin Johnson, JC28, Peter, Gerald Jones, Dano, all you guys teasing the NFL. Good to see the VIPs in here. Raven Ron, we got Kevin saying playoff edition. Teddy is hot, hot, hot right now. Let's keep it rolling. Absolutely, guys. He's 18-8 out the gate in 2023 for this year, and he's hot right now in the NFL, 5-1 the last 2 weeks. Also number 1 at WagerTalk all basketball. Last 365 days, last calendar year in net units won. So check him out. 12-2 in the NBA the last 10 days. So seeing it clearly on the hardwood and on the gridiron. Check him out. Teddy covers WagerTalk and sportsmemo.com. We got 1 game left on Sunday. Baltimore and Cincinnati. Bengals -6 in the hook at home here, Teddy, as the favorite. 43.5 being the total. Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals. What are we thinking in the Queen City?
Yeah, I mean, this was not my best NFL season, to put it mildly. I had 2 really crappy stretches. One to open up October, and then another one to open up December that were pretty ugly. So it was good. It was important for me to close out the season with a couple of winning weekends, and obviously we were able to do that over the past 2 weeks, going into the postseason with a little bit of positive momentum. And it ended up, being when you grade it out at the end of the season, it was all right. It wasn't a disaster for anyone, but I had 2 pretty ugly runs, one in October and another one to open December. So it's good to be back on the right track heading into the postseason. When it comes to Baltimore and Cincinnati, strength of schedule, both these teams faced tough slates. Baltimore ranked number 3, Cincinnati ranked number 7 in that regard. So it feels like the Sagarin system is putting us on a bunch of dogs, and it's saying that Baltimore is the dog to take in this one. This line's not going to move. My powering number came 6. This is a Lamar Jackson number. This is not an Anthony Brown number. The market's open 6.5 and sitting at 6.5, hasn't moved. Open 44 is a total. Bet down initially 43.5, hasn't moved. I'm not anticipating a whole lot of movement on this one. I think the Joes are going to be on Cincinnati. Look, we've talked about Cincy, 20-3 ATS going into last week. Now they're 21-3 against the spread in their last 24 games. All right. It's a Bengals team that got screwed by the NFL. No fault of their own. A Bills player has a heart attack on the field. So what happens? Cincinnati loses a Monday Night Football game and potential home field advantage. That's not their fault. All right. This team's good. All right. 21-3 against the spread the last 24 games. And, now maybe people start to pay attention. This will be the game that they don't cover. These teams played twice during the regular season. Baltimore won 19-17 in week 5. That was a battle. Cincinnati 27-16 yesterday. But, of course, that came against Anthony Brown, who's not an NFL quarterback. Lamar Jackson hasn't practiced since his knee injury. That came December 4th against the Broncos. We don't know if he's going to be available. Tyler Huntley also been banged up. He was inactive yesterday. Don't know if he's going to be available. They rested Mark Andrews and J.K. Dobbins, two of their better offensive weapons in yesterday's game as well. The quotes after the game, interesting. Roquan Smith. I'm looking forward to next week and seeing these guys again. A rare Week 18 matchup, and then they meet again in the first round of the playoffs. Quote, it'll be for all the marbles. I don't look at it any differently. Just excited to get out there next week. It's definitely worth noting, the Bengals were outgained by the Ravens by, 130 yards yesterday. Cincy had just 55 rushing yards in that ballgame. And Baltimore's defensive strength remains in the red zone, the number 2 red zone defense in the NFL. They've allowed only 44% of opposing red zone drives to end up in touchdowns. So, with Cincy, they got only 90 yards after halftime, just a field goal in the second half. They punted 5 times and turned it over on downs. Burrow, quote, I was missing throws I usually hit, that I usually always hit. So I've got to be better. Zach Taylor, quote, certainly some things that we can clean up, that we can do better, particularly on offense. But I'm just proud of these guys found a way to win in January. We finished the second half of the season 8-0 the right way. These guys have a lot of confidence right now heading into the playoffs. When you look at the future market for, let's say, odds to win the Super Bowl or odds to win the AFC, it's Kansas City and Buffalo at the top, and then Cincy as they're the third choice everywhere. They're not being viewed in the same light as the Bills and the Chiefs in the betting markets from a future standpoint, despite the fact this team made it to the Super Bowl last year.
The Sunday Nighter in the books. January 16th, we got a Monday night football game here for Wild Card Weekend, guys. 151, 152, 8:15 Eastern, 5:15 Pacific kick. Heading to Tampa Bay. Dallas Cowboys, Tampa Bay Buccaneers to end it here, Teddy. -3 at most shops. There is a -2.5. That's the Cowboys as the road favorite, but we can call it -3, almost the consensus line here, Teddy. 45.5 being the total. Cowboys at Buccaneers, Raymond James Stadium, Tampa Bay, Florida. You liking anything here?
Yeah, just let me put a bow on Baltimore, Cincinnati real quick, because again, we don't know yet. Lamar Jackson is just questionable. I'm seeing Tyler Huntley is questionable. It could be any one of the 3 Ravens quarterbacks this week. We don't know which one is going to be. Obviously, first string, the second string, the third string, in my opinion, will make a significant difference into how that point spread moves before kickoff. If Lamar Jackson does play, we're likely to see some Ravens money. Now, let's talk about the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. And in order to do that, we're going to need Dan to give us an emergency betting alert. Cowboys and the Bucs, Monday Night Football. Tom Brady's last game ever? The markets seem to think so. On the one hand, we got Dallas opening up as a 3.5-point favorite at many books. Bet down to 3. And guess what? The 2.5 starting to pop up. Here's your emergency betting alert. If you like the Bucs, bet them right now. There are still +3s available. I'm not convinced they're going to be available tomorrow at this time. From a strength of schedule standpoint, Tampa Bay, number 13 in the NFL, compared to Dallas at number 29. So strength of schedule says, look at the Bucs in this round. My powering number, Dallas, -1.5, says, look at taking the points in this round. Series history, let's see. These two teams played this year. Dallas never reached the red zone in that game. They won 19-3 on opening day. Admittedly, Dak Prescott got hurt in that contest. But it was a one-sided game. And if you remember, after the game, that's when the books were offering, the one book offered to the cash Cowboy under bets after that disastrous week 1 showing. So look, Tampa has all kinds of issues. Offensive line injuries are a real problem. They are thin on the offensive line. They just have nobody left to move in. Godwin put the ball on the ground second straight week. Penalties, turnovers, run defense had issues yesterday. And yet, this is a team that sure knows how to fight through adversity, and they've done it all year. Brady, it's a big challenge to take a losing record to the playoffs. It's going to be hard, but we're battle tested. We had some tough games. Some we came back from, some we haven't. Like I said, close won't be good enough going forward for anybody, which is obviously true. Now, Dallas had a very concerning game yesterday. They came to play, they got bet up, and then Dak Prescott went 14 of 37 for 128 yards, 3.5 yards per attempt. He threw a pick six, 7 consecutive games with interception. That's Dak's longest streak of his career. And they couldn't run the football either. 27 carries, 64 yards, 2.4 yards per carry. They gained 2.8 yards per play for the game. They were 4 of 18 on third downs. Dak Prescott after the game. That stinks. 14 completions, yeah, not good enough, period. Zach Martin, offensive guard. That wasn't us. Do this again, we'll be sitting at home next week. Head coach Mike McCarthy. This is not about one guy. You can look around at our offensive performance and blame it on one. You can't look around at our offensive performance and blame it on one guy. Plenty to go around. Worth noting, their special teams screwed up yesterday too. Brian Anger dropped a snap that set up the first Commanders touchdown, the punter. They had a punt return fumble. They had a missed extra point. These are the type of things that haunt Dallas in the postseason. They have for many years. Injury concerns, Leighton Vander Esch out, missing their starting center in yesterday's ball game. Good quote from Dak Prescott. No, this one won't linger. I mean, it's easy to go back and look at our body of work and what we've done, especially with this not anywhere, with this not anywhere in the past 16 games, meaning yesterday's showing wasn't anywhere in the previous 16 games. So when you have a performance like this, whatever it was, whatever the reason may be, you've got to individually look at it, take accountability, learn from it, and then understand that when the plane touches down back in Dallas, we're on to Tampa, obviously playing in Washington yesterday. So we know who they are, played them twice the last 2 years. It's going to be a good one. The money's showing for the home underdog here. Again, it could be Brady's last game ever. Tampa's going to be a sentimental choice. Tampa has the strength of schedule issues, and Tampa doesn't have the questions that Dallas has when it comes to postseason performance. We've already seen Bucks money. We may well see more. If you like Tampa, put a +3 in your pocket right now. Like I said, I'm not convinced they're going to be there for much longer.
NFL opening line report, playoff edition. Guys, feel free to chime in any questions here in the chat box. Everybody join live. You can help us out and smash that like button. And also, if you're watching on replay, feel free to fire away below what you're looking to bet, where you agree, where you disagree. All is welcome in the reply section on the WagerTalk YouTube channel each and every Monday right here, 10 a.m. Pacific time, NFL opening line report. We'll be back next weekend. Or next Monday as well. But Teddy, a couple of questions here in the chat box from everybody joining us live. First, want to ask you, does the schedule being 3 days here, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, so some teams having more time to prepare, and some teams, like we talked about in the second game, the Chargers, short week, traveling across country, how much is this affecting your handicap, just the time that they're playing with this kind of more drawn-out wild card scheduling?
Very little.
Okay.
I mean, if you're trying to build a case, and I think the one team that has the biggest issue is the one you've highlighted, the Chargers, where they have to, they played on altitude, travel, and then travel back across the country for a game on Saturday. That's the only team that has an issue. I think the other 11 teams are, relatively even in that regard. I want to, before you ask the next question, I do want to talk strength of schedule for the two teams that are on bye this week based on the segment numbers. And again, the system works wild card weekend. That's a system, the week you're supposed to use it. That's the one where it's had all the success. But it is worth noting from a strength of schedule standpoint, KC number 16, Philadelphia number 31. So Philly 31, San Fran 32, the two favorites in the NFC. Faced the two weakest schedules in the league, according to Jeff Sagarin.
Like it. And that kind of takes the next level when it's like a double digit, like there's more than 10 slots or more than 9 slots in between the strength of schedule. And it was only the Dolphins and the Bills that qualified for that, right?
The Dolphins were 2, the Bills were 17, Tampa was 13, Dallas was 29. Those were the two that were the two big ones. Now, one thing that I do, and I didn't have time to do it last night, but I go back. This is when I sit down and I go through my powering numbers for every opponent every week the game was played and give what I consider a true strength of schedule numbers. I'm going to keep those to myself because I didn't get them done last night, but they will absolutely be impacting who I play this week.
I like it, Teddy. Yeah, that's awesome. Friday Night Locks saying strength of schedule angle, another reason to watch the show, something we wouldn't have considered without Teddy. Well, thank you, Friday Night Locks, for chiming in here. It is a very important part of Wild Card. I remember from last season's show, Teddy.
Sure, I remember from 10 years. I mean, it's been paying dividends for a long time, and it's not whether they've had success against good teams. It's simply, have you played enough good teams that you know what you're getting into, versus have you spent all year feasting on the weak? Philly and San Fran have spent the year feasting on the weak, and they are the two favorites to come out of the NFC.
Guys, fire away any questions here in the chat box. Teddy, what about a dark horse here for any futures bettors? Do you see any kind of team that nobody's really talking about making a run here? We've seen it before in the NFL playoffs, a 6 seed, a 7 seed, 5 seed, any of these teams you think got a shot to make the Super Bowl? If
I'm looking for a dark horse, I'm looking at the NFC. Okay. When you talk about the elites of the AFC, you talk about Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati. They're my top 3 power-rated teams, and I don't think that the lesser teams in the AFC are going to be, I expect one of those 3 teams to make it. Even if the Chargers win a game or the Jags win a game or whatever. I mean, it's not, it's Cincy, Buffalo, KC are the class. In the NFC, is Minnesota a long shot? They are in the betting markets.
Right.
The wise guys hate that team. The wise guys bet against Vikings so consistently. And their statistical profile doesn't wow anyone and all of that. Maybe you look at the Minnesota-New York winner. Maybe that, because I honestly don't know who I'm playing in that game. That's one I'm thinking about. But that team, that situation might set up decently. You want to take a shot with Tampa or Dallas? I wouldn't argue with that either. Philly's vulnerable.
Yeah, I like where you were
San
going
Fran's
with that.
got a third-string quarterback.
Yeah.
So, and the weakest strength of schedule. So, there's. If I'm playing a longer shot, it'll be in the East. The bet to make now, in my opinion, might be but I hate to do it because I don't like laying points in Super Bowl. But AFC versus NFC in the Super Bowl is I saw a minus 140 money line for AFC, and again, Buffalo, KC, Cincinnati are going to be favored against anyone from the NFC. Maybe Philly would be a chalk over Cincy, but I'm not convinced that would be the case. And that's Philly with the number 1 seed. If it goes down to a lesser seed in the NFC, I might look at it. If you're looking for a future bet to make now, AFC to win the Super Bowl is one that makes sense to me. And the price is fairly reasonable. I don't know that I saw it last night. There were 140s. I'm not sure that's the case this morning, but there might well be. I don't know that the markets have moved that significant.
Teddy, one from the reply section, maybe quickly here. I am wondering who Teddy's mentors were when he first started betting in Las Vegas. That's from Larry on last week's show. Did you have any?
My number 1 on the list is going to be Dave Malinsky. All right.
Okay.
The Stardust line on Sunday night used to be Malinsky, Russ Culver, and then the next year, Cokin started doing that show. So really, initially, it would be I'd say my mentor, my number 1 is Malinsky. Rest in peace. And second might well be Dave Cokin, who is obviously one of the WagerTalk family. So, but when I first came to town, absolutely, you guys, it's easy enough now. I'm like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I didn't always know what I was doing. I didn't know how to talk about these guys. I listened and took notes every week. The first 2 or 3 years I was out here on Sunday nights when those guys would break down the entire card for NFL and college. And I'm taking notes, pages and pages of notes, this game, that game. I get it. I was there. But yeah, Malinsky and Cokin, I would put at or near the top of the list.
Teddy Covers. Thanks for the questions, guys. Follow him on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm on Twitter at Drew Martin Betts. Any questions, comments, feel free to fire away, guys. Check them out, WagerTalkSportsMemo.com. Hot start, 18-8, 69% all sports in 2023, 5-1 the last 2 weeks in the NFL, and 12-2 run in the NBA the last 10 days. So WagerTalkSportsMemo.com, Teddy Covers. I am Drew Martin. Teddy, anything you want to throw out here before we shut this down?
National title game tonight. I do have a 5% play on that. I don't hype a lot on this show, but I feel fairly strongly. And the 5% big tickets have been great. 50 and 25, 67% over the last, it's almost 2 years now, dating back to 2021. So, consistent long-term success is what we look for. And the big tickets have been there. So you can get that, obviously, at $9 Monday over at WagerTalk and Sports Memory. You can get that play for $9 as well as my NBA for tonight, which is running pretty good. And I'm sure they got postseason NFL specials. If you want to get on board, I would encourage, get a package. All right, don't buy any individual plays. Get on board and let's see what we can do in the postseason. I've got a good start to the end of the regular season, and I've got still some ground to make up. So hopefully we'll put up some winners for myself and my clients for this week. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for watching all year. We really appreciate it. And best of luck with all your wagers this week.
For the guys asking about the jacket, I actually lost this past week, so I'm going jacketless. Might start it up again next week for a good little run here. It was nice with the jacket on, but unfortunately the Jags couldn't cover the 6 points there, Teddy, although they did win the division. So, hey, we'll see what the Jags can do in the playoffs, guys. Jacket might be back on for next week. For Teddy Covers, I'm Drew Martin. Thanks for tuning in. Please smash that like button. Comment below. Let us know you're watching, where you're watching from. All is welcome. And cash those tickets, guys. We'll be back next Monday. Enjoy Wild Card Weekend.
Dave Cokin turned 70 on January 13th, and we want to celebrate Dave's 70th all week long by offering everyone 7 days of his all-access service for just $70 using coupon code Cokin70 when checking out on a 7-day all-access pass. That's every play in every sport for 7 days, including any 5% releases for just $70, coming out to only $10 a day. Dave is a legend in this business, with many calling him the GOAT. Despite betting and winning in sports since the Black Sox scandal, he could be enjoying one of the best runs of his career since joining WagerTalk. Look at his lifetime numbers since joining the WagerTalk family exclusively. Number 1 in total profit, number 1 in college football, number 1 in golf, number 2 in NHL, and number 4 in MLB. Just like fine wine, Dave Cokin is getting better with age. Happy birthday, Dave, and take advantage of code Cokin70 and get 7 days for only $70.